The power company did not shut this place down, Walter Grant said through the darkness. Caleb did. 8 birthday candles were the only steady lights inside Turner's table. Their flames trembled over blue frosting while rain hammered the windows and customers held up their phones. Eli Whitaker stood in a paper crown, staring at the dead ceiling fixtures. Sadie Turner kept one hand near the old breaker panel. Megan Whitaker stood between her son and Caleb, trying to understand why the diner had gone black in the middle of the birthday song. At the counter, Camille Rhodes from St. Anne's Medical Center closed the folder containing a catering trial that could have kept the diner alive for a year. A refrigerator alarm began sounding in the kitchen. "Without reliable power, I cannot approve this facility," she said. Caleb did not argue. He knew the rules, and he knew the food inside the cooler had less than 2 safe hours. Walter placed a certified notice beside the cake. "The insurance company ordered that electrical panel replaced 3 weeks ago. You told me the work was scheduled." Megan looked at Caleb. "Was it?" His silence answered. Walter's anger sharpened. "You used part of the repair money on a cake and a party for a child you met yesterday." Eli removed his crown. "Did my birthday break the diner?" "No," Megan and Caleb said together. But no one explained fast enough. Camille moved toward the door. Megan stopped her. "What would it take to stay eligible?" Camille studied her. "A licensed repair, a past county inspection, and 200 boxed breakfasts delivered to St. Anne's by 8 Monday morning. 1 unsafe temperature, 1 missing meal, or 1 minute late, and the trial goes to Ridgeway Catering." "How long?" Megan asked. 36 hours. Camille left. Walter pointed to the notice. "The repair balance is $9,400. Rent is 6 weeks late. If this building is not certified safe by Monday afternoon, I terminate the lease." After he walked into the rain, Eli pushed away his cake. "You should have let Mom cancel it." Caleb knelt in front of him. "Your birthday did not cause this. I made choices before you entered that door." "Bad choices?" Eli asked. Caleb looked toward Sadie and the dark kitchen where his late wife's photograph hung above the register. "One good choice," he said, "and too many frightened ones." 36 hours earlier, Megan and Caleb had not known each other's names. Now the cake between them was melting, the diner was closing, and Monday morning had become a deadline none of them could afford to miss. The bakery counter inside Fairway Market was bright enough to make every disappointment visible. Megan stood beneath fluorescent lights with her debit card and Eli's order form. The terminal had rejected her card twice. Her phone showed $14.62. Eli's inhaler refill had cleared 2 days early. Her sedan needed gasoline. The apartment electric bill was overdue. The remaining cake balance was $38. "I need to cancel it," she said. The clerk lowered her voice. "The deposit is non-refundable." "I understand. The cake is already decorated." Through the glass, Eli's name curved across white frosting bordered in blue. It was simple, which made the humiliation worse. Megan was not being defeated by luxury. She was being defeated by $38. "Remove his name and sell it," she said. The manager answered from several feet away. "Store policy does not allow custom orders back into the display." 2 shoppers turned. "Then donate it." "We cannot." Megan swallowed. "Then throw it away." Near the entrance, Eli held a handmade birthday card beneath his arm. He appeared to study cookies, but his eyes watched his mother's reflection. Caleb Turner saw the boy fold the card and hide it in his coat. He was there with his 8-year-old daughter, Sadie, buying discounted bread. "Change of plans," Megan told Eli. "We are making birthday pancakes at home." Eli smiled too quickly. "That sounds better. Chocolate chips and whipped cream." "You do not need whipped cream." She touched his hair and led him into the rain. Sadie looked up at Caleb. Are we helping? Not in front of everyone. Why? Because help can become humiliation when it removes someone's choice. After Megan's car disappeared, Caleb approached the counter and asked the unpaid balance. He opened his wallet. Sadie recognized the white envelope. Dad, that is for the electrician. 3 weeks earlier, a contractor had found heat damage inside Turner's table's breaker panel. The replacement cost was beyond Caleb, but the contractor would begin after a $900 deposit. Caleb had saved $786. We have until next week, he said, though the appointment had already been postponed. You told Mr. Grant it was scheduled, Sadie reminded him. I will make it right. How? Caleb looked at Eli's name beneath the glass. I do not know yet. He paid the $38 and asked the bakery to hold the cake. He felt no nobility, only two responsibilities pulling apart. Outside, Sadie asked, what if his mom says no? Then no means no. Caleb tucked the receipt beside the electrical estimate. The cake had not created his crisis. It had only removed the last illusion that he was still ahead of it. Turner's table had survived 22 years, 2 recessions, 1 flood, and the death of the woman who had made it feel like home. Caleb's wife, Hannah, had chosen the red booths and painted the original sign. After she died 4 years earlier, Caleb kept the diner open because Sadie needed one room where her mother's laughter still seemed possible. He arrived before sunrise, packed lunches beside the grill, and closed after the last coffee cup was washed. He also hid numbers, shrinking customer counts, late rent, supplier balances, and the electrical estimate. The panel had not failed yet, so he treated danger like a bill that could be postponed. The next morning, he brewed coffee beneath buzzing lights while Sadie cut stars from grocery bags. Caleb wrote Megan a note offering $40 for 1 hour evaluating the diner's family seating and service flow. The work was real. Families crowded the entrance, servers crossed paths at the drink station, and birthday groups often left because tables could not be joined. Helen Brooks, a retired teacher and morning regular, delivered the note to the pharmacy where Megan worked. Megan suspected pity, but the offer described specific problems and promised payment whether Caleb accepted her advice or not. She needed groceries. She also needed to know whether the skills she built before her husband died still belonged to her. At 4:30, she arrived with Eli and kept her purse over one shoulder. You were at the bakery, she said. I was. Is that why I am here? It is why I noticed you. It is not why the work is real. Within 20 minutes, Megan moved a high chair away from the kitchen door, opened a clear takeout lane, rotated 2 tables, and changed the drink station so parents no longer blocked servers. Caleb wrote down everything. You have done this before. I coordinated events at the Westbridge Hotel. Then Eli's father died, and 60-hour weeks stopped fitting our life. Caleb tapped the notebook. The skill did not disappear. Megan looked at him carefully. No. It did not. When the hour ended, Caleb paid her. Then he showed her the white cake box in the refrigerator. Her face hardened. You bought it after hearing something private. Yes. You invented a job to get me here. I created the opportunity because I needed a respectful way to contact you. Then you did work I should have paid for months ago. A cake is not payment. The cash was payment. The cake is a choice. He kept his hands away from the box. Take it, leave it, donate it, or tell me never to contact you again. Megan looked toward Eli and Sadie drawing planets on paper placemats. If I take it, he cannot know I cancelled it. That truth belongs to you. She studied Caleb's notebook, full of her ideas. The stars are too high, she said. Where should they go? At a child's eye level. She picked up the cake. She was not accepting charity. She was choosing what to do with earned value. The birthday began with 20 paper stars, 6 classmates, and a story that was true enough to protect Megan's dignity. She told Eli the diner had paid her for improving the room and that she had used part of the money for his cake. Eli hugged her. "I knew you would figure it out." Caleb saw relief pass across her face, followed by pain. Children should not have to admire how well their parents survive impossible choices, but many do. Sadie dimmed the lights. Helen switched on an old strand of white bulbs. The cake appeared beneath them like something recovered rather than purchased. Before Caleb lit the candles, Camille Rhodes entered with a leather folder. St. Anne's Medical Center was replacing a breakfast vendor after repeated late deliveries. Turner's Table had been recommended by nurses who ate there after overnight shifts. Camille had agreed to inspect the diner before choosing 2 businesses for a Monday trial. Caleb had forgotten the time. "I can return," she said. Megan looked at the folder. A family restaurant should be evaluated while serving a family. Camille sat at the counter. Caleb tried to manage coffee, birthday plates, and the most important opportunity he had received in years. Megan guided children into seats and kept the service path clear without being asked. Camille noticed. "Does she work here?" "Today," Caleb said, "she is the reason this room works." The answer reached Megan through the service window. Caleb lit the candles. Everyone began singing. Halfway through the second line, the ceiling lights flashed. The coffee maker clicked off. The grill fan slowed. Then the diner went dark. For 1 second, the candles looked beautiful. Then the refrigerator alarm screamed. Caleb smelled hot plastic near the panel. He shut it down and moved everyone away from the kitchen. No one was hurt, but the business was unsafe. Walter arrived because the building alarm had notified him. "You said the repair was scheduled," he told Caleb. "I believed I could earn the rest first." Belief is not a schedule. Camille explained the 36-hour conditions for remaining in the hospital trial. Walter added the lease deadline. Eli blamed himself. Caleb finally told the full truth. The cake cost $38. The crisis had been growing for months. "Then why did Mr. Grant say you use repair money?" Eli asked. Caleb looked at Sadie. "Because I kept taking small amounts from that envelope whenever something felt urgent. Payroll. Food. A school trip. A cake. I promised myself I would replace every dollar. I did not." Megan watched him stop hiding. "Good," she said. Caleb stared at her. "What is good about this? Now we are solving the real problem." Before the lights failed, Camille had watched Caleb quietly replace a dropped plate without blaming the teenage server who broke it. She had also seen Megan stop a child from carrying a hot drink through the crowded aisle. Those choices mattered because hospital food service depended on systems protecting tired people from preventable mistakes. That made the blackout more damaging. Turner's Table had shown promise and failure in the same 5 minutes. By 7 Friday evening, Turner's Table was closed, the refrigerators were being emptied, and rain ran beneath the red diner sign. Electrician Martin Vega could begin Saturday morning if the deposit was paid by 9. Emergency parts, labor, permits, and inspection would cost $9,400. Caleb had $1,200 in the business account, most of it owed to employees and suppliers. "We need $9,400 in 14 hours, he said. Megan opened her old event notebook. "We need a deposit by 9 and the balance before inspection. Those are different problems." She divided the amount into stages and designed a prepaid meal campaign. Customers could buy discounted breakfast cards redeemable over 3 months. It was future revenue, not charity. Nurses, firefighters, teachers, and longtime customers responded. By 10 that night, orders totaled $2,800. Then the payment processor froze the transfers because the sudden volume triggered a fraud review. Funds would not clear for 3 business days. Caleb stared at the notice. That is it. That is one door, Megan said. She called a former Westbridge client and offered a Saturday staff breakfast at cost for immediate payment. He agreed, then withdrew after receiving an anonymous email claiming Turner's Table had been condemned for unsafe food. Soon the same photograph of the dark diner appeared online beside a caption accusing Caleb of exploiting a poor child's birthday to hide a failing business. Megan traced the first post to Ridgeway Local Events, a page connected to the diner's competitor for the St. Anne's contract. Caleb wanted to answer angrily. Megan stopped him. Anger will make their accusation the story. Answer with records. She posted a plain statement. The diner had voluntarily stopped service after an electrical failure, no food was served after shutdown, a licensed repair was scheduled, and every prepaid purchase would be honored or refunded. She attached the county service number, not Eli's story. At 1 a.m, Sadie found Caleb beneath Hannah's photograph. Are we losing Mom's diner? He almost gave the usual answer. Instead, he sat beside her. We might. Because of the cake. Because I was afraid to admit I needed help before the problem became an emergency. Sadie swallowed. Were you scared I would think you failed? Yes. I already knew we were in trouble, she said. I thought you did not trust me enough to tell me. Across the room, Megan closed her notebook. There is another door. Westbridge Hotel still owed her disputed leave pay, but that money could not clear by morning. The hotel's operations director, however, could purchase a future catered event and issue a lawful deposit immediately. Caleb shook his head. That sounds like asking your old employer to rescue us. No, Megan replied. It sounds like selling work. At 6:30 Saturday morning, they entered the Westbridge lobby carrying a proposal and less than 2.5 hours of hope. Daniel Price met them beside the hotel coffee bar and read the proposal standing up. You disappeared, he told Megan. My husband died. We offered leave. You offered rotating nights and a supervisor who called during the funeral to ask when I would return. Daniel looked away. That supervisor is gone. The unpaid balance is not. Caleb understood that Megan had come to confront more than a business problem. The proposal offered Westbridge a holiday breakfast for 150 employees if Turner's Table passed inspection. The hotel would pay a refundable deposit now. Why should I trust a kitchen that failed during an inspection? Daniel asked. Caleb answered. Do not trust my promises. Trust the electrician's report, the county certificate, and her operating plan. I hit a problem. Until it became a crisis. The controls are stronger because she forced it into the open. Daniel mentioned Ridgway's claim that Caleb used a child's hardship for publicity. Megan kept her voice calm. Ask why a Ridgway page posted a photograph before any county notice existed. Then ask what that has to do with this menu, this price, and this delivery plan. Daniel negotiated hard. At 8:12, he signed a $2,800 deposit with clear refund terms. Combined with cash purchases made directly at the diner, Caleb could pay Martin's deposit. The electrician arrived at 8:57. Work began 3 minutes before the deadline. Martin removed sections of the old panel, blackened by years of heat. Another week, he said, and this could have failed overnight. Caleb looked toward Sadie. The cost of delay was no longer theoretical. At noon, a supplier refused to release the new equipment until the remaining balance cleared. Walter arrived with a cashier's check and a written property advance. The debt would be added to a conditional lease and repaid over 18 months only if the diner passed inspection. If it failed, the new panel remained with the building. The terms were strict but legitimate. Caleb signed. By nightfall, the lights returned one row at a time. Customers outside applauded. The victory lasted less than 5 minutes. Martin tested the walk-in cooler and discovered the compressor had been damaged during the outage. A replacement part would not arrive until Monday afternoon. Without certified refrigeration, there would be no county approval or hospital trial. Caleb leaned against the counter. We stop. We refund everyone and negotiate a closing date. Megan looked toward the kitchen. The inspection requires safe refrigeration. It does not require that refrigerator. Martin agreed that a certified temporary unit could pass. The last rental trailer in the county was reserved by Ridgeway Catering for a Sunday festival. Ridgeway owner Blake Mercer called Caleb directly. Withdraw from the hospital trial, and the trailer is yours for free. Caleb placed the call on speaker. Send that offer in writing. Blake ended the call. Helen remembered that Westbridge owned a refrigerated box truck. Daniel agreed to rent it at cost if Megan personally maintained the temperature logs. I was going to anyway, she said. The new plan was not a miracle. It could be inspected. The refrigerated truck arrived Sunday morning. Megan logged every seal, invoice, and temperature. Sympathy can fill a room, she told Caleb, but records pass inspections. At 3:15, County Inspector Laura Chin entered Turner's table. She checked the panel permit, hot water temperature, temporary refrigeration, sanitation logs, employee certificates, and food storage. Blake Mercer appeared halfway through the inspection, pretending he had come for lunch although the diner was closed. Temporary solutions become permanent problems, he said. Megan gave Laura screenshots showing that Ridgeway's event page had falsely claimed the county condemned Turner's table. Laura documented the complaint without promising an outcome. At 4:48, one violation remained, a prep sink drained too slowly. Martin opened the pipe and found a corroded fitting that broke in his hand. Walter drove to a hardware store 10 minutes away. Rain became sleet. At 4:58, he ran through the diner carrying the replacement. Martin installed it while Laura watched. Water drained cleanly at 5:02. Caleb's shoulders fell. The county office had closed. Laura signed the form. The inspection began before 5. The correction occurred during the active visit. Turner's table had passed. Then Camille called. A winter storm was expected before dawn, so St. Anne's moved delivery from 8 to 7:15. They had 14 hours to produce 200 breakfasts. The kitchen reopened immediately. Megan planned production backward from the deadline. The menu was simple: egg and cheddar wraps, roasted potatoes, fruit, and sealed oatmeal cups. Sadie and Eli were sent to Helen's house, but first they made 200 paper stars for the meal bags. No names, Megan warned. No message about saving the diner. Eli nodded. Just stars. At midnight, the supplier delivered the wrong tortillas. Using them would violate the bid specification. Daniel opened the Westbridge storeroom and released the correct cases at invoice price, but a fallen tree blocked the hotel truck. Walter met the driver from the opposite side and transferred the boxes by hand. At 5, Megan found 8 low-sodium meals missing from the carriers. Caleb discovered them on a lower warming shelf, below the required temperature. Reheat them, Helen said. Megan shook her head. Not after this drop. We remake them. We leave in 25 minutes, Caleb warned. Then we work faster without changing the rules. They remade all 8. At 5:46, exactly 200 meals were loaded. The hotel driver's street had not been plowed. Megan's commercial certification had expired, but Caleb still held the proper endorsement from an old delivery job. He took the wheel. Megan rode beside him with the logs. Walter followed with backup carriers. Snow covered Maple Avenue, and Ridgeway's trucks were already unloading at the hospital. The main route to St. Anne's closed near the river. Caleb turned onto an industrial road he knew from supply runs, but traffic stopped behind a jackknifed van. The clock showed 6:38. The hospital was 9 miles away. Ridgeway completed unloading at 6:29. Megan called Camille. We are delayed by a road closure. Product remains within range. Camille's answer was firm. 7:15 still means 7:15. Walter found a county service road across a low bridge, but the refrigerated truck exceeded the weight limit. They could transfer the carriers into Walter's pickup and Caleb's old truck, but opening the cargo area in snow risked heat loss. Megan calculated the exposure. For minutes if we stage first. And if a seal breaks? Caleb asked. We lose that carrier. Controlled risk is still better than certain failure. They stopped beneath a warehouse awning. Walter positioned his pickup beside the box truck. Megan recorded every seal number and temperature while Caleb moved the carriers. Snow blew through the open sides. One carrier slid from the tailgate, but Caleb caught it before it struck the pavement. At 6:59, both trucks crossed the bridge. At 7:11, they reached the hospital dock. Blake stood beside empty Ridgeway carts and checked his watch. 4 minutes. Impressive. Camille ignored him. She tested a randomly selected meal. Safe. Then another. Safe. Megan handed over the count sheet. 200 meals. Every dietary label correct. Camille noticed the paper stars. Why are these here? Caleb repeated Eli's answer. So whoever receives breakfast knows someone handled it like it mattered. At 7:14 and 36 seconds, the final carrier crossed the receiving line. They had made the deadline by 24 seconds. Camille announced no winner. At 9:30, she arrived at Turner's table with 2 hospital administrators. Ridgeway met the requirements and submitted the lower annual price, she said. Caleb felt the loss before she continued. But St. Anne's is awarding 2 90-day pilots. Ridgeway would handle standard weekday volume. Turner's table would provide overnight staff breakfasts, pediatric family meals, and weather contingency service. The guaranteed revenue covered payroll, rent, Walter's advance, and a reserve for a permanent cooler. It was not forgiveness. It was measurable work. Why us? Sadie asked. Camille looked at Caleb. Reliability is not the absence of failure. It is what happens after failure becomes visible. Then she gave Megan a card. St. Anne's needed a part-time coordinator for community vendors, with hours matching the school day. Walter opened a second folder containing a 12-month conditional lease. Rent would remain flat for 6 months, then increase modestly. The repair advance would be repaid over 18 months. Caleb had to maintain reserves and document preventive maintenance. Strict terms, Walter said. They should be. Caleb signed. No crowd cheered. The diner smelled of sanitizer, cold coffee, and snow melting from work boots. The cake leaned to one side, but Eli ate it anyway. It still tastes good. Megan smiled. Some things do not have to look perfect to be worth saving. Blake stepped closer while Camille checked the final carrier. A hospital should not gamble on a diner that nearly closed, he said. Caleb could have described the anonymous posts or the equipment offer. Instead, he answered, then judge us by the same written standard. Megan placed the documented route delay, transfer log, and temperature record beside Ridgeway's paperwork. One vendor had scale, the other had documented a crisis without hiding it. Caleb brought 4 forks and sat with Megan, Eli, and Sadie beneath the repaired lights. He had not saved Megan, and Megan had not rescued him. Each had brought what the other lacked. He had noticed a child's disappointment without turning it into a spectacle. She had forced a frightened owner to replace hope with a plan. Eli learned his birthday was not a debt. Sadie learned that honesty did not require children to carry adult bills. Walter learned that protecting a building sometimes meant offering responsible people one structured chance. 6 months later, Turner's table opened at 5 each morning beneath steady lights and a maintenance schedule posted in the office. The permanent cooler had been installed and paid down ahead of schedule. The hospital pilot expanded, but Caleb refused more volume than the kitchen could safely handle. Megan worked 3 mornings coordinating St. Anne's community vendors and 3 afternoons at the diner managing events, purchasing, and delivery controls. She did not call herself rescued. Caleb never treated her that way. Near the front window stood a table decorated with fresh paper stars. Families could reserve it during difficult months, but no private hardship became advertising. No child appeared in promotional posts. The sign simply read, "A seat is ready." Eli and Sadie expanded their school lunch table to include anyone sitting alone. Walter visited on the first Monday of every month, checked the reserve report, and ordered the same oatmeal he claimed was too expensive. County investigators later confirmed that Ridgeway's marketing page had falsely implied an official health condemnation. The company kept its hospital pilot but removed Blake from local promotions. Caleb did not celebrate. "Consequences are not trophies," he told Sadie. "They are what follows choices." On Eli's 9th birthday, Megan entered before sunrise carrying a white bakery box tied with blue ribbon. Caleb smiled. "A market cake. Paid with my own money," she said. "After paying the electric bill." Eli laughed. That evening, the diner filled with classmates, nurses, hotel employees, electricians, and customers who had bought prepaid meal cards during the blackout weekend. There were no reporters, no donation signs, and no speech about hardship. Before blowing out his candles, Eli placed a paper star beside Caleb's plate. It read, "Thank you for not letting me think I broke your diner." Caleb read it twice. "You never did." Eli looked toward the repaired lights. "I know that now." After everyone left, Megan helped Caleb stack chairs. Snow touched the windows. "Camille offered me full-time hours," she said. Caleb paused. "Do you want them?" "Part of me does." "Then take them. You did not ask what happens here. You are not responsible for keeping my life from becoming difficult." Megan studied him, hearing the same respect he had offered beside the bakery box. "I negotiated 4 days at the hospital and 1 here," she said. "I want both." Caleb nodded. "Then both it is." A week later, Caleb removed the old white envelope from the office drawer. For years, it held overdue notices hidden from Sadie. He replaced them with maintenance receipts, reserve statements, and a written emergency plan. He showed her the folder so she could see what changed when fear became responsibility. "Does this mean we are safe forever?" she asked. "No," Caleb said. "It means we are prepared to tell the truth sooner." At the same table, Megan helped Eli write a thank you note to the bakery clerk. She did not tell him every detail of the cancelled order. She told him enough: there had been a month when money was short, she had made a difficult choice, and other people helped without making him a public story. Eli listened, then said, "So the birthday was real even when the cake was not certain." Megan smiled. "The love was real before the cake." That answer completed the first celebration. No one needed to pretend the hardship had never happened. They only needed to understand that hardship was not shame. Over time, Caleb and Megan began sharing ordinary things before they shared romantic promises: school pickups, supplier calls, parent-teacher meetings, and coffee after closing. Their connection grew because neither person used gratitude as a debt. When Megan disagreed with a business decision, she said so. When Caleb feared losing control, he admitted it. When either child asked a difficult question, the adults answered with honesty appropriate for their age. The diner did not become perfect. A freezer failed the following spring. One hospital delivery was returned because a label was wrong. A Saturday event lost money. But each problem was documented, corrected, and discussed before it became a crisis. That was the quieter victory beneath the larger one. For both children, that honesty became safer than every promise the adults had used before the night the lights failed. Megan handed him the final chair. Their fingers touched, and neither moved away immediately. There was no dramatic promise, only trust built from invoices, failed equipment, hard truths, and 2 children who had stopped apologizing for needing joy. Caleb turned off the dining room lights 1 row at a time. The paper stars remained visible beneath the street lamp outside. The first cake had cost $38. The repair had cost thousands. The hospital trial had demanded nearly everything they had. But the most important change cost no money. Caleb stopped confusing silence with strength. Megan stopped believing help always arrived with humiliation attached. Turner's table survived not because one good deed returned as a miracle, but because kindness was finally joined by honesty, skill, accountability, and the courage to ask for help before the lights went out.